And I just want to begin by reminding us, myself included, that this is not the type of yoga that we come to work out the achiness and move the stiffness and open the range of motion and focus on bodily sensations and aches and pains and injuries. This is really not this kind of yoga. Although those things can be certainly a consequence of putting ourselves in and out of these postures. But what we're essentially interested in is the exploration of our essential self being this open, empty field of awareness. So when we step into yoga, we step into this, let's just call it an energy field, where we start to relate to connect with this essence of ourselves, which is this open, empty field of awareness. And then the exploration becomes that the sensations and the aches and the pains and the injuries and the body arises in this open field of awareness. The thoughts themselves arise and subside in this field of awareness. The perceptions, the distractions, the environment arises and fades in this open, empty field of awareness. So let's just take the opening and just connect with that. It's as simple as just relaxing into the experiential directness that you are aware, and then just let that reverberate open. So our focus is not on the body sensation, not on the thinking mind, not on the perceptions of the environment. Yoga is discovery. It is cultivating a sensitivity beyond interpretation. So this first thing that we're going to do, very effective for opening the shoulder girdle and the neck area. And you can do it either sitting in a comfortable position, so we just want the lower body to be grounded, or if you prefer, you can sit by bending the knees back. And you don't need to sit on the floor like I am. You can always use some bolstering. So you could go up as high as you would like to. So this would be a bit of multitasking because we're getting to stretch the knees as we're working on the shoulders and the upper body and the neck. So that's up to you. Just let the lower body be grounded. And then I'm going to turn around to show you. I'll describe it, but I'm going to turn around so if you want a visual, because I'm going to show it also with a blanket. If you have a yoga strap, that would work, or a belt. But I'm going to just show it with a rolled blanket. So if you don't have the range of motion to do what I'm describing and showing, then you can use something. So let me just turn around for a moment. So however you're sitting, and just so you know, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put us into this on one side, put us into this on the other side in a rather short hold, as I just want your body to respond to this. especially if we have residual tightness in this upper area, which most of us do. So then the body knows what to expect, and then we're going to do it again and we'll hold it longer. So sometimes the initial opening is nice because the body's like, okay, now I'm ready, and then we'll go back into it and explore it from that dimension. So what I'm suggesting here is to take the right arm and put it behind the low back and see if you're able to get a hold of that left elbow, yeah? And then if not the elbow, if you can get the forearm or even the wrist, even hold the hand, we're just attempting to, on this side, holding this left elbow is to restrict this right shoulder, yeah? And then if you would like, you can take, if you're able to, you can take that left hand and just put it on the left thigh, but that's not necessary. So then if this is not quite working for you with your belt or your yoga strap, just simply hold on to one end of it with the right hand, and then you can pull the left hand over and front on that left thigh. And this will do the same thing, restrict the right shoulder. And I was wondering if I was not facing the computer, so I'm not sure if anyone even heard anything I said, but let's hope. So I'll just say it again. So let's begin this. I'm going to set the timer for this so we really do hold it for a short amount of time. So let's begin all together so we don't get into it and hold it too long. Make sure the lower body is grounded. Take the right arm, right hand, put it behind the low back, and then see if you can get a hold of the left elbow or anywhere around there, even down to the wrist or the hand. If not, take your strap or your towel and hold on to it, and we'll pull that or place the hand onto this left thigh, if that's possible. And then let's sit with this for a bit. So just sit and just feel this intentional restriction of the right shoulder. And just a very, very subtle movement of, with the chin, the bottom of the chin parallel to the floor, just a little side to side. Try not to roll the neck or bend it ear to shoulder yet. We'll get to that. So just a little bit of movement just to check in with all of these different areas that are being evoked. And then let's release that. So just release the right hand from either the towel or that left elbow, and just have some movement with it. So just let the arm, I like to just sort of wave it around and just feel the energetic shift from the compression and the tightness to the openness now and the flow. And then we'll do the same thing. I won't turn around because, like I said, I wasn't sure you could hear me. So I will just talk and show it on the other side. So obviously the reverse would be to take the left hand, bring it around towards the lower back, hold on to that right elbow or forearm or wrist, and then take the right hand and place it on the right thigh. So now we're restricting this left shoulder. Again, if this is too much or you don't have this range of motion, just take the towel. So we hold the towel in the left hand and we're pulling it. So I'm pulling this and bringing the towel around front like this, or if you have the strap. So again, we're just trying to compress, restrict mostly this left shoulder area. And then again, first and foremost, most importantly, relax the shoulder. Try not to overreact to any of the tightness, but just gently feel it. And then keeping the chin parallel to the floor, so we're, in a way, elongating a bit the cervical spine. Just let the head go just gently side to side. So no other angling except that. Good. So let's release that as well. So we're going to do it again, and we're going to hold it a little bit longer, and we're going to then explore range of motion in the upper spine and neck. So if you need to adjust the lower body, I think I'm going to sit up on the bolster, but keep my knees back. So whatever works for you. If this is too much with the knees, you can, like I said, just sit cross-legged. Good. So let's take the right hand and bring it around the lower back and hold on to whatever you were holding on to before. I won't go through all the gyrations of it. And then set in the pose. So we're restricting now this right shoulder. And again, let's begin with keeping the bottom of the chin parallel to the floor, again, just to feel the lightness between shoulders and skull, and a spaciousness and elongation of the upper spine. And then let's begin by allowing the left ear to come to the left shoulder. And then we'll feel that possibly lean into that restriction of the right shoulder. And just let's stay in stillness here for a bit. So I know the temptation is to move away from it or explore it with the movement, but we'll get to that. But just sink into it. And we can always cycle back to this opening definition of art or yoga, is to cultivate a sensitivity beyond interpretation. So I do understand that most of our minds are very habituated to needing an interpretation of everything, to turning everything into an objective experience. So my recommendation is no need to interpret what you're feeling, but just experience it. And just trust that this sensitivity will allow you to receive whatever you need to receive. And then from here, just allow the weight of the skull to go wherever it would like to go. So you're on your own here. Just let it go slowly, whatever angle feels right. If you feel like you've reached an intensity or a density, you just slow down into it. If you find yourself wanting to push past it or get rid of it or diagnose it, just simply relax. And just feel it. Feel the mobility and how delicate the cervical spine is. You can drop the chin all the way down. You can gently sway the head a bit. Gentleness and sensitivity. If your breathing has responded by becoming a little short or quickened or choppy, just slow the breath down a bit. Just let the breath relax. Let the tension relax. And then let's release, if you have the towel or the elbow, let's release that right arm. And again, just let it swing around, and any sound that you want to make, please feel free. Just let the chi disperse here. Let the chi come back into balance from that restriction. And then before we do the other side, let's let the head bob around just a little bit more. So now notice how it feels without restricting that right shoulder. All these little threads of density and these threads of tension, where do they come from? Good. So now let's take the left hand, scoop it around the lower back. I'm holding on to my right elbow, but we have a variety of options. You can take a right hand and place it on the thigh if you'd like. And then once you feel stable here, you've relaxed the shoulders, you've elongated the cervical spine, relax your eyes and your jaw. Then let's bring the right ear to the right shoulder. Now we're intensifying that opposition to the left shoulder. And then any intuitive movement of your head that feels good, this would be the time to do that as well. But try not to get mesmerized, try not to get seduced by or drawn into these sensations. Yes, certainly they are there. They have a right to be a point of reference for us. But our exploration is, where are they arising? Yoga is suggesting they are arising in this field of awareness. So we don't want to allow the awareness to get so intertangled with the sensation we can't tell them apart. So we're holding space. This is our yoga. Our yoga is to hold space as this open, empty field of awareness, and then notice that all of our experience, mental, emotional, physical, perceptual, is arising and ultimately dissolving in this open awareness. And again, slower is better. This practice is intentionally slow. It's a dissolving of the tension slowly. It's leaning into it. It's melting. We're not trying to force or push or change anything. We're not trying to manipulate. Ultimately, we're not even trying to understand anything, but just feel it. Feel the direct sensory aliveness of your experience. Good. So once again, let's release the arm. And then let's allow it to have some just intuitive movement, just wherever it wants to go. And then let's allow the head to enjoy some range of motion here, and just notice the difference between when we're in a constricted place with the shoulder and now the shoulder is just very relaxed. And then if you are sitting with your knees folded back, let's unfold them. If you're sitting with your legs crossed, let's all just open the legs out. And just to, if you're starting at a hip width distance when you open the legs out, let's open them about halfway between whatever is widest for you. So if I open my legs as wide as they could go, not quite 180, but then I want to bring them in halfway between the hip width and the full range of motion. So that for me would be like about here. Yeah. And just let the feet relax. So this relaxes the the hips as much as possible, so we're not tightening everything, we're relaxing it. And then if you're feeling a little restricted coming forward, you can always sit up on the edge of something. So sitting just on the edge of something allows the pelvis to tilt forward here a bit. Don't just sit flat up on it, because this will just support the pelvis, but a little bit forward sometimes can allow a pelvic tilting forward. This often some of the restriction we'll feel in the lower back. But also I was going to say, to have any bolstering you need, I'm going to bring my whole collection here of blankets and towels, or your bolster, and use this for support depending on how the back of the legs are feeling and the hips are feeling. And if this feels initially too tight in the hips, bring the legs in a little bit more. Try to soften the lower back. We're not really trying to get the forehead between the toes. We just want to settle in to a nice place more between the calves, so the upper spine can relax. All of the muscles up the entire back line can relax, and just settle in. Another way that we could say this sensitivity beyond interpretation is just the simple cultivation of our intuition. But this is an intuition that we want to make sure is not explaining things to us. A genuine intuitive awareness is just pointing the way. And this is what makes this yoga so beautiful, because your body, the totality of your body, and by that I include mind and heart, just the totality of your being, let's say, has the capacity to point the way, has the capacity to give you tremendous subtlety of direction. So if you find you're getting a linear explanation of things, nothing wrong with that. Sometimes it's interesting. Sometimes we do get a very poignant or important insight, but just as important to let yourself just float into this open-ended spaciousness. This is what we're exploring, and then everything has the freedom to arise. And this is what we want. We want to give everything the freedom to arise, and then we get to choose whether we're going to give it some attention, or are we going to explore it, or are we going to just let it keep going? I can't remember who said this. That's the problem with having way too much information. I think it was Winston Churchill, but it could have been Mark Twain. I don't think it was Gandhi. Anyway, I don't know why I just thought of this with the keep going. I guess what I said about keep going. But the quote is, if you're going through hell, keep going. And this is another, foundational aspect of this level of exploration is we can simultaneously feel very, very grounded. Yeah, you're feeling the visceral somatic sensation of being in a body, grounded right to the earth. And at the same time, as we let go of this need to hold on to that experience, it can become very delicate and very ethereal. And as the breath and the heartbeats slow down, the brain waves slow down. So we literally get to rest in different dimensions of our beingness. So, at whatever depth you're at, let's just come up a bit. And you just need to come up about halfway or wherever you're at. If you're way up, that's okay too. But I'm saying you don't need to come all the way out. And just let's have a little intuitive. We'll just sway over to the left. We'll sway over to the right, just nice and gently. Kind of ease into the hips on each side and just kind of feel it. Just feel this. It's such an interesting connection. The femur, the head of the femur into the hip socket, the pelvic ligaments, the sacrum, the psoas muscle. So just ease in right and left. And then the next time you come back to your center, just go right back into it. So let your body just relax back down. And we certainly do not have to, hold on to the language. We don't need to use awareness. Very often we can confuse awareness and attention. We can explore our essence certainly as an open, empty field of consciousness, an open, empty field of presence, an open, empty field of being. And then we have the great luxury. The luxury is then we get to sit back as the witness. We get to witness. Oh, what am I feeling? Oh, what am I thinking? Oh, what am I perceiving? And isn't that interesting that it's all coming and going? Good. So let's come on up from here, and you can just lie down on your back, and we'll take a rest. So please come on up. And I'm going to describe this with a combination of towel and blanket for those of you that don't have the bolster. And then I will describe it and show it with the bolster and a blanket. So if you don't have any bolsters, what I'm going to recommend is take a towel and roll it up about like, the height will be really determined by how you're feeling in the lumbar. So I've rolled this towel, about maybe 4 inches high. So we have about 4 inches worth of height. And then taking your blanket, and I folded the blanket over in quarters. So I've taken the blanket, always working from the rectangle shape, and then I've just folded it over so it's in quarters. So what I've done, if you want to think about it in a different way, is I've replicated the small bolster in length, as you can see, in length and pretty much in height. So basically the same thing. And then what I would like you to do is take your blanket and put it over the roll. So we're putting it over the roll, so the blanket is going to be vertical from the hips to the base of the skull. The roll is under the blanket, horizontal, hip to hip. And then I have a third towel for my head in case that needs a little support. So this would be for this combination. I just want to try it because I didn't try it earlier. I used my bolstering. We're going to keep the buttocks on the floor and ease over this. Yeah, it's having the exact same effect as the bolster. Oh yes, and then the head can maybe rest on the end of the blanket, depending if you folded your blanket the way I showed. So if you need, if that's comfortable, yes. If not, you can put a little extra under there for your neck. We want the main focus to be the lumbar and the digestive area here. So that's with the blankets. Yes, pretty simple. I think pretty simple. If you have the bolsters, get a hold of your small one, small bolster, and then we'll roll that the blanket up, not the towel. Take the same rectangle shape, roll it up, and again, how you roll it will be determined on the compression in the lower back, and then we'll place the bolster over it, so only one end is over it, and that would be the same thing if you were putting the blanket over the towel. We just want to create this support that's curved, so it will fit right up into the hollow of the lumbar spine. And again, I may have something for the head here. So when you're sitting in front of this, yes, with this the small bolster vertical, we'll come over it, keep the feet on the floor. Yeah, I guess this is a little more supportive, but we could make the other thing work. And then, yes, this is fine for my neck. But again, you're invited to put something under the head so it doesn't pinch and feel unsafe in the neck, because we want to stay here for a while. And if you get to this depth and you feel, no, this is too much, I won't really be able to feel safe and relaxed, just unroll the blanket a bit, yeah? And the same thing with the other combination. Then at the very end, when you've got it, let the both legs relax out. So it's just a nice, supportive compression in the lumbar curve. The buttocks is on the floor. The length of the spine is supported either by your folded blanket or the small bolster. Take care of your head and neck as best you need to, and make sure you've settled into a position where we can spend some time. So the real beauty of this yoga, which I'm, maybe I'm being a little, unrealistic, that this is not primarily about the body. We're not here to stretch and remove all the achiness. We're here to explore something that is essential to us. But the beauty of that is we don't have to think anything specific. We don't have to think spiritual thoughts. We don't have to think profound thoughts. We don't have to judge our thoughts. We don't have to feel in the body a certain way. We're doing it correctly. We're not doing it correctly. We are simply trying to hold a container. We're simply trying to cultivate a space where we are able to watch these things arise. This is just sitting on the doorway of this tremendous mystery. I'm not identifying with, I'm not getting drawn into my spiritual, scientific, intellectual thoughts. I'm not trying to analyze the chemistry of my body. I'm not trying to therapeutically heal the biological history of my emotions. I'm just simply allowing a spaciousness that these things can arise and being amazed at how they then pass through and fade. So the primary identification, again, is with this open, empty field of consciousness. This open, empty field of pristine beingness. So just allow yourself to open to your intuitive awareness. And again, intuition has no need to explain anything. It's just going to point the way. So if this doesn't make sense to you, you're not really getting it wrong. On the contrary, if it doesn't make sense to you, you're getting it right. Just to open to this intuitive place that is vibrating in your bones and your cells. And I would just like you to begin to visualize with your gut. So just allow this gut to start to visualize. And very, very softly start to breathe into the tension in your belly. Nice and slow. So you breathe into the belly, take the time to feel it. Let this area visualize. And then when you release, really relax right back to the lumbar spine. Let the relaxation permeate the pelvis and the hips and the lumbar area. So you're breathing into the tension in your belly. You're allowing the gut area itself to visualize. And you're appreciating the beauty of how sensitive and slow and gentle the breath can be as it weaves into this mysterious area that is incredibly intelligent, incredibly emotionally intelligent. And as this gut area is open to visualizing, allow it to visualize that you're opening up a healing process with your entire digestive area. And again, this doesn't need to be specific, it doesn't need to be linear. We're just feeling the, the tissues and the whole digestive area is breathing as well. And in the background is just a gentle breathing into the tension in the belly. And just feel this, uh, this space. However, the gut area, the belly is visualizing, allow it to open to more spaciousness. So the breath now, as it's been softening into the tension, is allowing you to breathe a little bit more space. And then just simply and intuitively and directly and without any judgment, allow love to vibrate in your belly. Allow love to vibrate in your belly. And if you, at this point, do not have the arms over the head, just allow the arms to come up over the head and just let all of that lumbar digestive energy spiral up the spine and into the base of the skull and through the heart and the throat. You can bend your knees and put your feet on the floor. And in two options here, if you really are ready just to come out, you can roll off to the side safely. But if you'd like to just ease up a bit more up on the bolster, so you're kind of pushing back so we come out of the lumbar and we get the broad part of the pelvis on the bolster. This can be a nice way to sort of move this energy a bit and feel it a little bit. So please take your time, whatever feels intuitive to safely come out of this, and then we will come to a rest. Just making sure we don't get into the habit of thinking this is on or off. That when we go into the pose, it's on. As soon as the pose is over, it's off. No, nothing could be further from the truth. You're investigating your body primarily energetically. So we want to feel all of the nuance of slowly moving in, settling in, and slowly moving out, coming into rest. It's all at some level, it's all energy. The tension is just energy. And so we're making an exploration, whether it's open, spacious, relaxed, free energy, or it's tight and contracted and feels like we're in prison energy. It's just energy. And the more we can get very close to it, we can see how much we're superimposing on this energy to call it just just a plethora of different things. I was going to say diagnosis, but not even diagnosis. We are so habitual in how we label this energy that we can lose sight that it's just energy, and that we have choices ultimately on how we give meaning to this energy. So when you come into rest, let's rest. I'm just going to share a short reading with you from a book called Myofascial Release by John Barnes. Those of you that have been taking my class for a while, I've probably read this whole book to you over time, but I just thought this was just an interesting way to start to explore this myofascial system is what we're really compressing into. So at a physical level, you know when I initially said that this yoga isn't primarily interested in the physical, yes and no. We're holding space to explore the system that is our, sort of our life force, our vibratory field. So I think sometimes it's interesting just to sort of swim around in that a bit, and very few people can articulate the beauty of the myofascial system like John. So just continue to relax and I'll share this with you. Consider looking at the myofascial system on the cellular level as a sieve. When we are traumatized, have surgery, or have inflammatory responses to illness, the ground substance of the myofascial system tends to dehydrate. As it loses its fluidity, it tends to become more viscous or solidify. This is equivalent to pouring glue into the sieve. In other words, it doesn't matter how much good food, medication, vitamins, or supplements we put in our mouths, if these substances can't get to and be processed by the cell, of what value are they? What has been ignored in today's health care is the vital role of the ground substance and the microtubules of the fascial system's main function to transmit our bioenergy or life force through the cells to all aspects of our being. Another word for bioenergy is love. Love is our basic and most important nutrition and healing power. Food, vitamins, etc. are just supplements to the important role of love flowing through us. Without love, life is a struggle. So as the ground substance becomes more viscous, it impedes the cell's ability to receive bioenergy, love, oxygen, and nutrition, and its ability to eliminate toxins. So many people are barely functioning in a state of exhaustion, poorly nourished, and are not receiving the benefits of medication or supplements. They are poisoned and living daily in this toxic state with diagnostic labels such as chronic pain, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, headaches, depression, and exhaustion. And I won't go into the sort of I would say the beauty and the importance of the ground substance of the body, but there's plenty of information on it if you want to choose to explore it. So, and this at a somatic level is really what we're exploring, this compression into this system and release. This is what is, in a way, massaging it open. Just as when someone works on you manually and they compress and they shift and they rub and they go deeper and then they release, there's evidence there that something beneficial has happened. So something beneficial is happening. And not only that, but there's just a cascade of cellular events that are being nourished by this. But I love how he equates this bioenergy with love and how to open up this system to flow and to be able to give the body that level of nourishment. So let us come on up after that lengthy rest. And for this, you can use the large bolster if you have a large bolster. And if your shoulders are particularly feeling frisky and open and supple, then you may want to add a second layer to that to get nice and high. We're going to place the shoulders on the bolster. So it would look like with the bolster or bolsters, either the large bolster, and we'll go horizontal, so shoulder to shoulder with it. But I think I'll just show it also. I'm just going to show it with the pillows, because I know a percentage of us don't have the bolsters yet. So if you're using pillows, have something for your head. And also if you're using the bolster, have something for your head. and make a contraption where you can, it's something with, maybe I'm using 2 pillows and I'm using a rolled up towel. So I'm, again, this is a little high for this, but you can always take the roll off. I'll take the roll off. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna sit in front of your contraption here. And what I'm recommending is to place the shoulders on this contraption, yeah? Yeah, so let's see. Oh, this could be fine. Yeah, this could be fine. I could come a little higher, yeah, because I know my shoulders are fairly open today. But if yours are not, this could be a good height. So this is not in the mid or lower back primarily, a little bit in the mid back, but I want the shoulders to be on the support. And what we're going to do then is we're going to, I'm going to just turn this way, is we're going to allow, well, let's address the head first. So if you are able to dangle the head back like this, oh, this is a nice view, yeah, then fine, if it's good for your neck. If not, support it in any way that feels good. And then what we're going to do is we're simply going to, with the height of the shoulders, I'm going to let my arms come directly back over my head. So right here, this is pulling on my shoulders. What could happen is the body will invite the hands to touch the floor. You've gone to your maximum range of motion. Then you might need to come up a little higher. Yeah, so if this happened for me, and I had the pillows, I would either add another blanket, or if I have a small bolster. So now my hands are not to the floor. So what I'm saying is we want the hands off the floor, so the weight of the arm is pulling back into the shoulders. We're kind of picking up where we opened with that shoulder opener. The legs are just relaxed out. If you need release from this, before I call for it, 2 things. You can just bend your elbows, yeah, or you could put your hands on your chest to let it all rest. But try not for this to let the arms go way out to the side unless that feels just right. I'm suggesting over the head. You can interlock the fingers if you would like. Yeah. So any combination of that. We just want the shoulders high, the arms dangling above the ground, the elbows relatively straight. They're going to want to slowly bend as they fatigue, but just kind of play with that. And just settle in. So if you've not brought the arms over the head, this would be a good time to do it. And just for us to remember that the use of the breath is mostly intuitive. So the invitation is to be very open to exploring this relationship between the tightness in the body and the way that you're breathing. And we just can always, sort of layer deeper into this. So one of the things that I like to offer myself, but I'll offer to you, is instead of going directly from the breath to the tension, start to creatively visualize that the breath is emptiness itself. So breathe emptiness into these knots, into this density of the body, and really allow them to open and relax and to soften. And this is quite, beautiful if we are holding this space of an open, empty field of awareness. So we're not breathing a physical breath, we're breathing emptiness into the density. So it's permeating the density. So let's just relax the arms at this point. You could either bend the elbows if that feels best, or you could just interlock and relax your hands on your chest. It's such an opportunity always to be as gentle as you can with your body. The tightnesses and the injuries and the traumas and the inflammations that we hold, this is part of a deeply complex system of information. So at the level of discomfort and pain, this practice is not about removing that discomfort. It's about being in a different relationship with it. And this can be quite transformative when we start to appreciate this, because it takes us from, feeling like we have to accomplish something or do something or figure something out, to just being with something. And that has an energy, this energy of having to figure something out, it's an energy. So how does that energy feel, and how can we start to transform that into more of a respectful sitting with the way that the body is, and appreciate the way that it gives us this information. So again, let's bring the arms over the head. And this time, instead of just following me with directly over the head, if they want to open out, if you want to bend the elbows a bit, if you need to just do one at a time, wherever the sensation of the body is asking to explore. So you can relax the arms once again. And then, just as we used our capacity for creative visualization to explore the belly and tension in the belly, I'd now just like you to bring that awareness into your throat. And just go as deeply as you can. Just allow yourself to relax into this area of the throat. It's an area of the body that we rarely explore somatically. So relax your jaw, relax your breathing, and just allow yourself to open to the possibility that often that tension in the throat reflects a deep need to communicate something important. So oftentimes we just associate the throat center with our capacity just to communicate. But what I'm suggesting is tension in the throat, especially at a deeper level, if you can relax into it, is often reflecting something that is more essential to communicate. So I would just like you to sink into that and allow your sense of creative visualization to be intuitive. And such an incredible passageway from our nasal passages, sinus passages, cavity of the skull down into the pulsation of the heart, the pericardium, the respiratory diaphragm. So this passageway can often be overlooked, but it is, it is full of sensations. It's delicate, it's subtle with sensations. So to allow yourself to relax into the throat, feel into it, soften it, and just listen to it. Is there something important that needs to be communicated? And it may not even be externally, it may be deeper in, deeper in the heart, deeper into this myofascial system, deeper into the gut. And then let's bend the knees and put the feet on the floor. And just let the knees go back and forth a little bit, even though we're up on the shoulders, a little bit of tension in the mid-spine possibly. And then when you're ready, we're just going to roll off of this and come to lie flat. We will take another rest. And if you're if you're open to it, you could still continue this exploration into the depth of the throat. So just let it be open and intuitive, but just feeling a felt sense with the breathing, a felt sense with a relaxing of the jaw and a softening of the upper chest, and just sink in. It's a very interesting exploration. And just sort of an interesting, concept along with that reading I did of the myofascial system. The connective tissue is certainly connective, but it's also a primary way that our body communicates. It communicates through this bioenergy. So when we have tension, what John was suggesting is the tension then closes this capacity of the system to communicate. So this is what I'm saying. So tension in the throat has the potential to physically, but also energetically close down our capacity to communicate. Now, I'm not just talking obviously about our physical voice, I'm talking about something much deeper, something important, something connected to our well-being, our deep well-being, our truth, the way that we, the way that we just communicate and share with others. So we're not really exploring it literally. We're not trying to open up strands of tension so we're more relaxed in the throat. We're attempting to explore how do we, in a non-linear way, go into this system that essentially is non-linear. How do we open to our intuitive awareness and let it weave into the strands of tension, and what is that reflecting? So let's come on up. I'm picking through my pillows here, looking for a good combination. And really, truth be told, the only reason I want everyone to get bolsters is so I don't have to take out my blankets and towels and pillows all the time. Makes it easier. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking a pillow and I'm taking a blanket and I'm folding the blanket up to a square, not really a square, it's a rectangle, and I'm putting it on top of the pillow. Yep. So this is going to approximate the height of the big bolster. So those of you that have a big bolster, use that. Those of you that blankets and pillows, something like this. So just the approximate height of the large bolster. And I'm going to show it with the large bolster. So then what we're going to do here, the other thing is, let's keep this in mind. You may want something, let me just show this. What we're going to do is we're going to bring the right leg in towards the body. We're going to do a supported square pose. And then we're going to put the bolster or your pillow blanket in front of you. Then we're going to take the left leg and put it up onto the bolster. So the left femur is elevated up, that left knee is pointing up towards the sky. But a nice thing about this pose, if you are not coming all the way down and you're hovering above the bolster or the blankets, that's fine, just relax the neck. However, I find that if you come all the way down, there's a chance that the nose is going to press into the bolstering, and that's just uncomfortable and hard to breathe. So you can take something secondary and put it in front. The small bolster would work, a pillow, or I'm using a blanket here. So what I'm doing here is that I'm resting my forehead on this blanket, and then it's not pressing my nose in so I can breathe. So just configure that if you'd like to. And then just gently come forward. So we have the right leg bent in towards the body, the left leg up on top of the bolstering. Try to make sure it doesn't slide down towards the calf too much. Eventually it could do that. We want it nice and high and up, and then you can angle it if you like. So obviously then this is not just for the lumbar area. We may, some of you, if your IT band is tight along that left hip to knee region on the side there, you're probably going to feel it there. And I say, if the IT band is tight, I say that tongue in cheek because I already know it is. So this is meant to soften it and to ease into it, to get up into the buttocks where the piriformis wants to tighten. So just settle in. Find a position you're not going to need to wiggle or be distracted or it's too deep. You can bolster up the upper body, support it, and just let yourself relax. Again, the invitation is to breathe emptiness into the knots and the density of the body, and just to allow them to soften. The moment you feel yourself expressing any effort, any struggle begins to arise, back away a little bit, let the breath deepen, let the breath permeate, let the body relax and just soften. We're just opening this posture to listen, to feel, because we want to observe. We want to observe what is arising and what is subsiding. An open, empty field of stillness. So let's roll up. Just really feeling the spine articulate out of the compression. Very lovely. And let's open both legs forward over your bolster or blankets and pillow and tuck them under the knees. Yeah, so this takes a little tucking, but it works quite well with the blanket and the pillow. So I want to just alleviate that that knee hip IT band tension here. So we're going to have support under the knees, large bolster or the pillow and blanket, and then really soften the spine here So allow any imagery of stretching to just dissipate and dissolve, and just feel the slowness and the compression of the tissues and the ligaments. And we'll come into a forward bend this way for a while. And if you do come into this energy of trying to figure something out, wanting to improve, even confusion or frustration, explore it as energy. This is this trying to figure things out, this obsessive need for self-improvement. This is a lovely energy to explore. And this is so directly tied into the physical, psycho-emotional tensions that we hold. And just to be able to sit quietly in contentment, everything is fine, my body is perfect, I'm just feeling it vibrate. This is a beautiful a beautiful way to relax, a beautiful way to open. So when this energy comes up of I need to fix, it's not right, whatever it is, don't try to judge that. Just as a point of tension comes up in the shoulder, we're here to just explore that. So when the energy of the mind is creating these delusions, explore it as energy. Don't fight with the mind. Trying to untangle the trap of the mind is the trap of the mind. So let us come on up, please. And let's lie down and take a short rest, since that was a rather lengthy combination of square and butterfly pose. So just lie down. We'll take a rest for a bit before we move on from here. I guess I would also extend that to the body. Trying to undo the trap of the body is the trap of the body in a way. We've come to believe so thoroughly that there's a cause and effect relationship going on in the body, instead of this this non-linear biotensegrity. I think I mentioned a few weeks back, I was reading Donald Hoffman just about the nature of reality, and he mentioned the quantum potential of the microtubules, which John just mentioned. We were reading in terms of the myofascial system. That's just fascinating. That the system that we live in is quantum. It's not linear, and so this can be such an impediment to our healing. We believe, and it's part of it certainly is a cultural overlay that everything can be fixed. And fixing something is very, very different than opening up a genuine healing process for ourselves and how we do that. And so I do feel that as we become more conscious and we become more awakened, we can become more aware that there are deeply protected areas in the body. And we want access to these deeply protected areas, but we have to feel safe in order to relax into them. So if we're at the surface and we're just trying to fix things and we're involved with cause and effect, nothing wrong with that. Certainly, sometimes things definitely need to be fixed. But this process of healing, and as we become more awakened to this quantum potential of the body, we realize there are very deeply, sort of overlaid, meshed, protected areas, and we have to enter these with just great reverence and great respect. How to enter into the body at this level, because this is the intersection, if you will. No, it's not an intersection. This is the sort of intermingling of physicality and consciousness, right at these microtubules, right where the body seems to be physical, but yet it's vibrating. It seems to be vibrating, yet it feels physical. Who came up with this system of being human, huh? I don't know. So let's come on up and let's do the other side of that lovely combination. So this time we would bend the left leg in. So the left leg is in front. And then we'll take the bolster or your blanket combination. So I showed it on the blanket combination. I'm just using the big bolster. We'll take the right leg and put it up on your support. Feel free to angle it a bit. If you are coming all the way and your nose is getting pressed on the bolster, put something there for your forehead so you have room to breathe. Come in nice and slowly. It's more of a surrendering of the lumbar area than a stretching. We're not really technically stretching here. We're compressing, curling in, finding that spot where you can just drift off and feel the quantum potential of the microtubules. So if you do become aware of an area, let's say, it can be physical, it could be emotional, certainly it could be psychological. it could even be spiritual. But if you come upon something that feels like it's being protected, like it's not uh, shining with light, it doesn't have the freedom to come to the surface, approach it with great sensitivity, approach it with this easing in, approach it with great curiosity. And trust that every breath that you take is evoking this intuitive awareness, that your whole body, your whole being is intuitively aware. So if something feels protected, if something feels unsafe, if something feels unknown, slow down. Don't be in a rush. We're here with an open-ended exploration. And just simply breathe. Breathe emptiness into it. Don't even breathe to do anything with it, but just allow the emptiness of the breath to pervade. I do believe that the, uh, the most conscious way to approach this yoga, and so the context of yoga being the mind, the body, the heart, and the breath, is to begin to cultivate this energy towards ourselves of just simply not judging it, whatever it is, physical injury, repetitive thinking, negative thoughts, contraction of the heart. Do not judge it. Do not judge it, but allow it to arise. Allow yourself to genuinely explore it with as little of our conditioning as possible. Sometimes we have to shake the conditioning away a bit. We have to um, tease it apart and shine some light on what it is we're exploring, so we're not judging it. And then it just opens up such incredible beauty and depth to explore ourselves in this way. It's almost a deconstruction. It's almost we're deconstructing ourselves and seeing what's there, seeing what we've been superimposing, what we have been giving meaning to. And does that meaning work, or does that meaning not work? So again, let's come on up nice and gently. And as we roll up, let's again open the legs out. So I'm suggesting to do the same thing, to place the bolstering under the knees or whatever you're using and come into the forward bend. If perhaps you would rather do this soles of the feet together, knees out to the side without that support, that would be your choice. So you can choose either option. And then we'll just relax the whole spine forward. So let's come on up. And let's lie down and we'll take a rest after all of that. So make yourself comfortable once again. And then as we're resting, let's go back to where we opened, where I said, really, this yoga is not to open up the aches and pains and emptiness, although certainly that's a result. But that's not its intention. The intention being to start to explore ourselves as this this open field of emptiness. So an open field of intelligent emptiness. So let's take the breathing the emptiness. So we're breathing as emptiness, and let's breathe the emptiness into the emptiness. The breath of emptiness into the open field of intelligent emptiness. So just allow your breath to be as soft, as open and expansive as it can be, and allow yourself to be as open, as soft and expansive as can be. And just as if the wind was blowing into the wind, the emptiness of the breath is weaving into the emptiness of your being. I had this lovely moment the other afternoon when the sun was out. That in itself was lovely that the sun was out. But I was just sitting, just watching the forest in my backyard. And I just had this image of like, oh, the wind is so beautiful. I'm watching the wind. I had this image that I was watching the wind. And then I just went through this sort of, this kind of realization in a way. It was, you know how when we have these little beautiful insights, and I realized there was no wind, that all I was doing was I was seeing, I was having the experience of seeing the trees sway. I was having the experience of the sensation on my face. I was feeling sensation, and I was hearing the rustling of the trees, the sensation of rustling, but I couldn't find the wind. This thing that just a moment ago I was appreciating and thought I was seeing, it turned out to be this sort of weaving together of various sensations of just experiencing. So we want to also, in our yoga, we want to be able to explore that when we are certain of something and we label it and name it. Are we just having the experience of experiencing? What is really there? And this is why the invitation always is to find it. If you're certain it's a belief, if you're certain it's a thought, if you're certain it's a pain, see if you can find it, and see if you can take out your magnifying glass and see what's there, and start to discern the difference between what we've labeled and just the purity of experiencing. And this opens up a doorway. So let's come on up, and if you do have a big bolster, take it out. And I'm going to make a few suggestions here. We're going to use the bolster vertically from the lower spine back up towards the skull. So I'm going to suggest, my first suggestion is just to tuck the end of the bolster into the lower back, keep the feet on the floor, relax over it, let the legs come out, and just enjoy, may not be so moderate, but mild to moderate backward bend, yeah? So this would be my first suggestion. If indeed you wanted to, if you're feeling rather open and frisky in the knees and you do want to bend the knees back, do it with this bolstering as well. But if this becomes too much intensity in the lower body, I'd much rather you relax into the into the lumbar area than kind of struggle with the knees. So that's just, again, if your knees are really open and you would like that. If indeed you do not have yet one of these big bolsters, then I'm going to suggest you use your pillows and just make something that will be supportive along the whole length of the spine. So I'm using actually 3 pillows here. And what I mean by that is we don't want to arch the head back. We want the upper body, shoulders, and head supported. So yeah, let's see how this works. So I'm using 2 pillows for the support in the lower area, and then I have a bigger pillow. Oh yes, so my upper body is supported. This is actually quite comfortable, and it's similar to what we're doing with the bolster. Yeah, so just so we're not arching the thoracic cervical spine all the way back like we could do if we put it crossways. So it's primarily lumbar compression, and then the rest of the upper body is supported. So we just can relax into this backward bend without having all the other things. So just to add a little bit to what I was just saying, so it turns out that what we're actually exploring is this thing called experiencing, not what we're experiencing. And so our entryway into this exploration is just to notice. And we can do this moment to moment. This is the beauty of having the presence of the present moment, because we can do this anytime, that we can notice that what we are experiencing, it doesn't matter what it is changing. But the quality of experiencing stays the same. We can always experience. So it becomes this lovely personal way to just deepen into the present moment. And one of the benefits is we don't get drawn into the attachment of things being a certain way, because we start to see the nature of the body, the nature of the mind, the nature of the heart, the nature of the world is change. What is it that doesn't change? What is the faculty I'm using to experience what is changing? And this is really, on some level, this is what our yoga is. So we sit quietly in the body, we open up the pathways, we free up the energy, but we explore this very uh, this very deep dynamic of experience and what is being experienced. And one of the things that yoga is, gently reminding of us always with this context is don't forget to include your sense of self. So it's not like we have this independent, finite mind that then ventures out for these explorations and comes back into the safety of the fabricated ego. What yoga is saying, no, this sense of self that you have so carefully fabricated and you so carefully protect, examine that as well and notice that that is changing. And what is the discernment between this visceral sense of being aware and this sense of self that is so subject to change? It's just fascinating. I call it yoga. Gently direct the breath back to any tension in the belly, and just softly and gently direct the breath back to the tension in the throat. Again, just softly and gently. So often it's a lovely thing just to revisit some of these areas that earlier we went into with a little more specificity, but now just to feel them. You start to feel the unification of the breath and the body, the mind, the heart. There's a lovely passage in the Bhagavad Gita where Arjuna, he's starting to comprehend what Krishna is telling him, and he asks him this very poignant question. He goes, "So, but what is the purpose of all of these elite practices?" Speaking of the yoga that Krishna is sharing with him, and it's so beautiful because in his poetic way, what he's basically sharing with Arjuna is it's just to see that you are not separate. These elite practices are just to see that you are the world, you are your brothers and sisters, you are the cosmos. And so the yoga from yearning and striving and gathering and needing to transform and to self-improve, that is not yoga. The yoga is just sitting quietly with a simple recognition that there is no separation, that we are just this, we are just this. So if you would like to stay in this position longer, I've sort of been, altering my endings just to give you options because you're at home. So if you're feeling like you would love to stay in this position longer, please feel free to do that. Just don't forget to come out at some point tonight. If you would like to start to gently come out of this and go into a final shavasana, you could simply do that and close that way. Or if you would like to come out of this slowly and sit up with me and close, um, we will do that. But whatever you do, do it slowly and take your time. And let us just take a moment in closing to sincerely sit in this splendor and this beauty and this abundance that we all get to share. And just to know that we understand in our hearts and minds that not everyone gets to share this level of splendor and beauty and abundance. And we allow our awakening to be a gift to the entire world. So we just sit with this genuine and deep sense of gratitude that we have this great privilege. Namaste.